12 News breaking news now.
Breaking news right now, Glendale Police are providing a major update in the search for Arianna Jones. The woman had not been seen or heard from since July 5th, and her family reported finding damage to the front door of her apartment near 59th Avenue. Let's listen in.
We believe that the two of them had been in communication with one another through some social media channels, and then they met for a date of some type. The two were seen at a movie together and then ended up in this remote area where we believe this crime took place. I can tell you that when we have interviewed Mr. Rodolico, he is not claiming to be involved with this situation. Instead, he is saying that the two of them were in this remote area and that two individuals showed up and attacked them. And at some point, he made his escape, and Miss Jones stayed behind, and he believes that that's how this all took place. We have sufficient enough evidence to believe that Mr. Rodolico is the person responsible, and he is facing homicide charges. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. Yes. I saw that out of the corner of my eye.
As far as their relationship, have they known each other for a long period of time, or was this just an initial date, or what do we know about their relationship?
I can tell you that detectives are still pulling a lot of the forensic evidence from their phones. We do believe that they have been in contact at least on a couple of different occasions, but we believe that this may have been the first and only time that they had gotten together physically. Right now, we're waiting on the medical examiner's office to come back with their results, so we're not releasing how the cause of death was.
What can you tell us? Like, he says he wasn't involved, but there seems to be a good deal of evidence that points in the direction that this could be premeditated.
Well, we don't know as far as what the motive was behind all of this, but we can tell you that there is sufficient enough evidence to link them together. There was sufficient enough evidence to show Mr. Rodolico was in that area several times before they actually were in the area. So we don't know if he was planning this or if this was happenstance from the situation that they were in. But we have sufficient enough evidence to show that they were coming and going from that area.
There were items found at the scene that seemed to directly link their previous journey to the movie theater. Can you talk to what was found at the scene?
Yes, well, we know that when they attended the movie that they did go to the concession stand and that they had different forms of refreshments, and one of those was a cup that linked to that movie theater, and they were found at the scene of the crime.
Can you walk us through a little bit about what her family first discovered and what officers first discovered when they first got the missing call?
Yes, back on July the 7th was when we were first alerted that she had not been heard from the family. They were very adamant that there was a lot of communication between them usually. When our officers obtained that search warrant and they showed up at the apartment of Miss Jones, they did find it kind of disheveled. They found her cell phone had been left behind. They also found that a dog that was crated was still there and had been in its own waste for several days and no food. So that was enough of an indication that there at least had been some kind of suspicious nature.
What can you tell us about where her remains were found? Does it appear that she was buried with some concrete? What do you suspect happened, that he went back and forth several times to bury the body? What do you know?
Our detectives, I can tell you, did find a shallow grave in that area, and they found a body in that grave. Again, we are still waiting on some testing results from the medical examiners, but there was enough evidence, physical evidence of not only clothing but other things matching Miss Jones to be able to identify her.
Has her body been completely removed from that gravesite?
I'm not commenting on that.
What do detectives think transpired here? Was some kind of argument, or is there any kind of speculation as to what may have transpired here, going on the date, when she died, leading up to her death?
Unfortunately, that's where we're stuck at. We're not quite sure where the motive lies in all of this, if this was a crime of passion or if this was a situation that just escalated out of control. What we are focusing on here is that we are really devastated for this family. I mean, this was a family that was hopeful that they were going to find their loved one in a good state, and unfortunately, this was not the case. And so we were hopeful to get a better answer or a better result for this family, but at least we're going to give them the closure that their missing loved one has been found. Yes, so we did have some surveillance video of him cleaning out the back seat of his car as well as cleaning out different items. There was some unusual behavior taking place within the actual vehicle. We're not sure if that was him removing certain items or not, but there was enough consistency to know that it was linking him to the actual crime scene. We can also tell you that he had some wounds on him that were consistent with some stab wounds. He maintains that that was from the two individuals that showed up there in that desert-like area and attacked the both of them. But we believe that this was a situation that took place during this particular attack against Ms. Jones.
Just more broadly, can you speak to kind of that surveillance that has helped you? Being on video scenes in a lot of different places and was able to track something.
You know, we can't go on and speak more highly about not only our detective works, we also want to really recognize the great work that our Special Investigations Unit as well as the U.S. Marshals Task Force did with all this. I mean, this was basically put together within 4 days. On top of that, we are all aware that we have a real-time crime center, and all of those cameras and all of those different situations that we can put together helped us piece this together. We were able to pinpoint him attending her apartment. We were able to pinpoint him attending these different areas, going to the movies. So all of this, working in conjunction with all these agencies, really helped put closure to this in 4 days' time. I can tell you that he does have an arrest history, but it's not anything really significant. We're talking about some theft, nothing to the level of homicide. He was on probation at the time of his arrest, and now, from my understanding, he's being held on a $2 million cash bond.
Is there any timeline as far as they went to the movies, as far as when she may have been killed, or where they went after that?
It appears that all of this took place on that evening. According to what he was able to tell us, is they attended this movie, they then took a drive out to this remote area. He claims that they were continuing their date in that remote area, and that's when the two individuals showed up and attacked them.
Is it thought that he went back to her apartment and kind of created this forced scene, or that he would have forced her out of the apartment to begin with?
I think that that's still all under investigation.
And just to clarify, and I think this is correct me if I'm wrong, but the call about the missing person came into police after all of this had already transpired.
Well, I mean, we believe so because the family had not heard from her in a couple of days, and at that point, they grew concerned. And matching what looked to be a person that had been missing for some days in that apartment, that's how all this basically began.
You touched on the investigation and the work of detectives that related to it. It sounds like a lot of technology was used to try and solve this case.
That's correct. Without the technology, this would have been much harder, but the fact that we were able to have this surveillance video show where they were as far as the movies were concerned, and we were able to find them in different areas of the valley using other cameras. We were able to pinpoint their cell phone usage in different areas. All of that combined helped us really solve the case, on top of the good detective work from our folks.
And you had touched on the story that the suspect had told. It was pretty clear that they just didn't add up.
We can tell you that his story continuously changed. As he kept trying to describe the attack of these two individuals, the attack became a little bit more dramatic, less dramatic. He talked about the fact that at one point he escaped and just left her behind, and that's why he was confident that if this was, we were interviewing him about this missing woman, that she was probably not alive.
But he never reported the incident.
He never reported the incident to us. He never reported to anyone other than his family that he had been part of an attack to explain the cuts on his person, but he never informed them that there was someone else involved.
He never reached out to 911. He never made a call.
He never made a call to police or to anyone to let anyone know about this attack. It wasn't until this family reported her missing that we were able to put all of this together.
Does the family recognize the name of the suspect?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know what social media platform they met on?
I do not.
You had touched on it earlier, just, obviously you cover a lot of cases. This is not the ending, but it's heartbreaking for the family.
This really is a heartbreaking situation. I mean, this was a situation that could have been completely avoided. We see a lot of times crimes of passion. I'm not saying that this one necessarily is, but a lot of the times we see individuals meeting up with strangers because they've connected in some kind of social media platform or some other way. And, it's really important that people just be as careful as they possibly could be. They should also let family members know if they're meeting up with someone that they're not very familiar with. Again, we were really hopeful that we would be able to provide this family a better closure and reunite them with their loved ones, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. All right, thank you guys.
All right, you have just been listening to a news conference held by the Glendale Police Department there. That is their public information officer. Here's what we know about this missing persons case. This is in regards to Arianna Jones. She was 21 years old, last reported missing back on July the 5th. It was her family who reported her missing, and there turned out to be some damage that was to her front door apartment. Obviously, suspicious in nature. Police just revealed that they have made an arrest in this case, Mr. Rodolico. Detectives say that the two of them, Mr. Rodolico and Arianna Jones, had gone on a date to the movies, and then they went to a remote area afterwards. Now, Rodolico says that he is not involved in this case in regards to her body being found. The suspect says that the two individuals apparently had showed up to this remote desert area and attacked them. The suspect says that he left and that Jones had actually stayed behind. Well, now it turns out that police did find a shallow grave, and in that grave, the body of Arianna Jones. They say that Rodolico is now facing homicide charges. Detectives are still trying to figure out a motive in this case, but they do say that there is sufficient evidence in this case to link Rodolico to the death of Arianna Jones. They say that that evidence entails surveillance video, some cell phone information. They say that the suspect apparently kept changing his story repeatedly and that he had never reported this attack to police, only to his family. Now, it wasn't until Jones's family had reported Arianna missing, and then that's when detectives were able to piece this whole case together and link Rodolico to this death. Now, detectives say that Rodolico was found with some injuries, and he was actually also on probation at the time of this arrest. He is being held right now on a $2 million cash bond. Right now, we do have 12 News journalist Gabriella Becerra. She is at that news conference that just ended. Gabriella, what else can you tell us about this case?
Well, Tram, there's still a lot of details to go through. The court records related to this arrest are quite lengthy. Right now, we know that Arianna Jones was reported missing by her family. There were some concerning factors about her apartment when they went searching for her that caused them to alert the police, and then they began investigating, ultimately finding out that Arianna had gone on a date with this gentleman, and it didn't end very well, it seems. She had gone to the movies, then the date went into a more remote area, this desert area. The suspect in the case, Rodolico, says that two men attacked them in this remote area, but police have enough evidence to believe that this story is made up by him, that nobody ever was in that area. They're still investigating all of these details, though. Again, those court records related to this are very lengthy, so we'll be going through those and share those updates with you, Tram.
All right, Gabriella Becerra live at the Glendale Police Department, where they just finished up that news conference in regards to the body of 21-year-old Arianna Jones being found in a remote, shallow grave in the desert. All right, Gabriella, thank you. We will have more from you coming up later on 12 News at 1. But for now, we bring you back to our live streaming.